On this edition of Medical Minutes here on Time Warner Cable DMG TV2, we take you on a tour of Union Hospital's new emergency center. We'll speak with hospital officials like Carrie Gardner, and we'll get the patient experience perspective from Medical Director Dr. Jeff Cameron. Join us here on Medical Minutes.
I think the hands-on aspect is going to give you an opportunity to explore, find out what you're good at, what you like, and you're not going to have mountains of debt. What you're going to have is a marketable skill that even if you don't love it, you can use that to pay to go on to college and get that degree. And we've got a number of students that do that. They're very mature. I think we're a great hands-on exploration base.
WJER and TV2 would like to introduce you to a new website, WJERTV2.com, where you can watch exciting high school football, soccer, and volleyball replays from TV2 Sports on your home computer, smartphone, or tablet. Also watch the latest episodes of TV2's original programming, Sports Talk, The Garden Girl, The Not So Shy Chef, Off the Record, and Medical Minutes, as well as catch up on local community news and search for local businesses. So make sure to check out the new WJERTV2.com community website where everything's local.
Welcome to Medical Minutes here on Time Warner Cable DMG TV2. We are standing in the brand new emergency department at Union Hospital, and we are with the Director of Community Relations, Carrie Gardner. Now, Carrie, tell us a little bit about this emergency department, because it's several floors, it's several rooms, it's much bigger.
I don't think I can tell you just a little bit. There's a lot to talk about here. Before we started this conversation, we spent some time walking around, looking at the really enormous footprint of this emergency center. We started out as an emergency room, then we became an emergency department, and now we've evolved into an emergency center. So that's really how we build this new facility, as an emergency center, because it is its own separate area of the hospital, certainly connected to the hospital, but if you've not come around to the backside of the hospital campus to see how this has changed the landscape here, I think you'll be amazed when you come here for the first time. It is really an enormous addition out to the back of the hospital, and you'll see why we now call it an emergency center.
And it is 2 floors.
Yeah.
What's on the first floor?
Well, we're standing on the first floor. The first floor is the same as the first floor of the rest of the hospital. You know, the main entrance of the hospital, the main lobby, the radiology department, the operating rooms is all on the first floor of the hospital, and you come right out. If you continue on the first floor, you'll come right out onto the main patient care floor of the emergency center, and that's the upper of the 2 floors. Below is the ground floor, and that is the support area where staff offices and locker rooms and secretarial offices, just all the support area that supports what goes on here on the main floor.
Now, this was a large undertaking. It's a $17 million emergency center. How did everything get started?
You know, we have watched emergency care at this hospital, and it's really been at most hospitals that have emergency centers or have had emergency care over the years. Every year, we've seen an increase in the number of patients coming here. The last emergency department that we built and we're soon to move from was designed and built in the early and mid-1990s. At that time, we had about 25,000 patient visits a year. That's a lot.
And they're still working on the emergency center here.
Right. We're not finished yet, so it's a work in progress. But you know, the emergency department that we are soon to leave was designed to meet not only the need at the time it was built, but they were looking at years of growth in patient volume in the future. And in 12 or 15 years, that growth was fulfilled and then surpassed. And And this year we're going to do more than 45,000 patient visits here. And if we look at the growth trend over the past 20 years and project that same trend out over the next 20 years, we're saying, well, we really need to design a facility that's going to serve this community's emergency needs for the next couple of decades. And so we've done that. We've built this emergency facility will have capacity for up to 60,000 patient visits. And if that trend line that we have seen, it's a very regular, steady trend line for 20 years. If that line continues, and we think it will for another 20 years, we'll be there in 20 years. So we've built to that capacity.
And the layout, we were discussing earlier about the two different levels, the first floor and the ground floor. There are 4 quadrants.
Right, this was really designed, we've adopted, for those who are into the industrial design, it's been a lean design. Lean processes have been utilized to help design the layout, the workflow, how supplies and materials and equipment are stored and deployed for patient care, for efficiency. I heard just this morning the figure of 6 miles a day is what the typical nurse will walk in a 12-hour shift in a layout like we've come from, where the emergency department has literally stretched out from this side of the building to the other side of the building, long and narrow. So equipment had to travel from one end to the other, staff one end to the other, supplies, not close at hand. And now we're in pretty much a perfect square, and equipment and supplies and staff are deployed in 4 areas of the patient care floor, and staffing in those areas will rise or go down with expected patient volume, so we can operate efficiently. And instead of having care scattered from one end of the building to the other, it's really confined. So our belief is that nurse who used to walk 6 miles in a 12-hour shift will cut that walking in half, because they're going to be so much closer to their patients, to their other staff, and to everything they need to take care of patients.
And you have special rooms in the emergency center. Let's start out with a place to take people who have infectious diseases. How do you keep them separate from the rest?
This really became a hot topic a couple of years ago when the whole Ebola thing came up, and hospitals everywhere, including this hospital, really in a very short period of time had to figure out, what if somebody were to come into our hospital with symptoms of Ebola? And it could be any other infectious disease where it's spread through the air and very contagious. So with that in mind, we have designed special rooms. They have negative air pressure. That means when the door opens, air from the room does not come out into the hall, it goes the other way. And so if there is airborne infection, it stays in the room. It also allows staff to go into the room, take care of patient. Of course, they go into the room wearing protective garb. They'll go in and do the patient care, and before they come out, they cross into another room that's isolated. They remove their protective clothing, get into clean clothing, and they emerge, and again, all that air stays in that room. So it really helps to contain a patient and anything that they have with them that may be contagious, and that reduces the risk of infection to staff, to other patients, and everybody else.
And tell me about the rooms that they refer to as the psych rooms. They're very private, and they're for special patients that may be causing some problems.
Well, every hospital emergency department has patients. We have 2 behavioral health rooms, so if the need arises that a patient needs the special facilities for that sort of care, we have 2 rooms that are designated and equipped to really address the patient's needs to protect themselves and protect equipment so they're not hurt and they're not going to hurt somebody else. And these are rooms that, it's part of the reality that the emergency staff faces every day, is needing to be able to provide proper and appropriate and quality accommodations for patients, regardless if it's a medical illness, a mental illness, and whatever the case may be.
And your observation rooms, if you're not really admitted to the hospital, but you need to stay put for a little while, what's that for?
Well, emergency observation is something we've had for quite a while. We have had observation rooms in the past, and this is for the patient who comes in and perhaps they're suspected to maybe had a heart attack, and we're going to just literally observe them for a while. You can stay in the emergency department in one of these rooms for up to 24 hours. Then you're either discharged home or admitted to the hospital. Maybe the doctor wants to put in a bag of fluid, and it's going to take 5 or 6 hours for that to drip in. Well, instead of laying in a smaller treatment room that we need really to treat other emergency patients for, we'll take you over to the observation room, and you can lie there. It's a private room. It has a window, and it's really just like being in it's a hospital room, and it's comfortable. There's room for the patient and their family, and you'll have food served to you, and it's just a very short-term stay in the hospital.
Now, some of the materials along the walls, they're locally made.
Yeah, I'm very pleased that early on in this whole project, we have tried as much as possible to give the business, as it were, to local contractors, local vendors, buy local products. I think overall of the construction budget, over 60% has gone to local contractors who hire the local folks. And even out-of-town contractors hire local folks who actually do the work. If you look around the rooms, you'll see that from about 3 feet off the floor down to the baseboard, there is instead of painted plaster walls, there is a very hard, rigid material. It looks beautiful, but it's very protective, because in every hospital you're pushing carts and beds around, wheelchairs. They run into the walls, they nick things up, and it doesn't look very good. And it also poses a problem that it's a maintenance issue. Well, Marlite makes a wonderful product that has exactly met this need, and every room, every hallway has this Marlite material on it, and it protects our walls, and we're very pleased about that. And some of our lighting in our areas here in this center is Lauren Lighting, and again, a new Philadelphia company, and we're very happy we've been able to utilize that product here too.
Which brings us to the funding to make sure that this emergency center happens. It is the Lauren Emergency Center, correct? Named after Lauren International Lauren Manufacturing.
Correct. The Lauren family has a long, generous history with Union Hospital, and Mr. and Mrs. Foland have been wonderful donors over the years, and that tradition really continued, and the Lauren International made the decision to make a $1 million gift to our capital campaign, and in recognition of that, we are going to be known hereforth as the Union Hospital Lauren Emergency Center. And that $1 million gift, really the largest gift, but we've received over $3 million in donations and pledges now for the capital campaign for this construction. As you said, it's a $14 million construction project and another $3.7 million in equipment that's going to really complete the construction. And the balance of that has been financed through an issue of bonds, as the hospital has done many times over the years to finance the big projects we've done. And it really has worked out well, and very gratifying to receive such significant and generous community support.
And you're ready to unveil it to the community. There are a number of events coming up throughout March, right?
Right, starting really that first week of March, we have opportunities for employees. There's already been employees kind of coming back around here, looking around, but it's really going to open the doors and really invite the employees, the volunteers, medical staff, really the inside family to come and take a look at it, because we want them to be able to see what they have here, and so they can talk about it knowledgeably and have some experience here and see it, because not everybody's going to be out here in the course of their work. And then on March the 6th is a big public open house, so if you're viewing this before March 6th, Sunday, March 6th is our open house, so the public can come in and walk around. And really D-Day, move-in day, is going to be March 17th. That's the date that patient care will begin here, and at some point in time, probably early that morning, the decision is going to be made the next patient to arrive at Union Hospital's emergency department, instead of coming in and turning to the right, will come inside and turn to the left. And there'll be somebody, be the first patient to occupy the first treatment room here, and every patient coming in after that will come into these new treatment rooms, and over the course of less than 24 hours, every patient who's still in the current ER will be discharged and leave, and eventually somebody will be the last patient. And in less than 24 hours, the old center will be closed and the new center will be fully in operation.
All right, we can't wait to get all that equipment in here and get it rolling
Right.
again. Kerry Gardner, he is the Director of Community Relations here at Union Hospital, and we are in the new Lauren Emergency Center. As we continue, as it unfolds, we'll have more right after this.
Just wanting to be a police officer, I knew this was a great start, and it turned out to be a fantastic one.
Just be able to actually see what you're doing, what you're working on, and understand how you can take one thing and turn it into something else.
We got to creatively use skills and academics and see how we can place them into our fields.
It's pretty much I had the key to open the door, and that was from Buckeye.
Since 1967, this agency has been proud to partner with individuals with developmental disabilities, their families, and their caregivers to ensure that all members of this community have access to meaningful opportunities. Here at Tusk BDD, we trace our roots back to the Starlight Movement, where Ruth Carlson and other concerned community members rallied together to provide increased opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities. Due to their advocacy efforts, we have the extensive support system in Tuscarawas County that we know and love today. From our Starlight School to the community integration programs, adult day services, and early intervention, today Tusk BDD is serving over 500 children and adults with developmental disabilities here in Tuscarawas County. To learn more about the agency and some of the changes going forward, please do not hesitate to contact us. You can reach the County Board at 330-308-7173 or visit us online at www.tuskbdd.org or find us on Facebook or Twitter.
Welcome back to Medical Minutes here on DMG TV2 on Time Warner Cable. And we are still at Union Hospital's new emergency center. With us this time is Dr. Jeff Cameron. He is the medical director. And Dr. Cameron, compare the old emergency department to this huge emergency center.
Well, Jennifer, it's really hard to make a comparison. It's like such a huge night and day difference from the old emergency department and this beautiful, brand new, state-of-the-art emergency department.
Now, the obvious thing is space, right?
Oh, the space is immense. We'd really outgrown the old emergency department 10, 15 years ago. And all the requirements of medicine in the 21st century just demand much more physical square footage space than what we currently have over there. That's the biggest impact, is how big this emergency department is.
Now, as medical director, you had a lot of input in the design of the new emergency center, right?
Oh, they let me talk from time to time. But it's not my wallet that's building this to the hospital, but the physicians all got input into this, and the design that we thought would make the most sense, and how emergency medicine is practiced in 2016.
Now, Kerry Gardner told us earlier in the show that there are 4 different pods. So are you able to treat patients more efficiently having these 4 separate areas?
Oh, I think we'll be much more efficient. We had gotten so big, and let me take you back, to 25 years ago, we designed that current emergency department. And at the time we were seeing 20,000 patients a year, and we designed it to accommodate 36,000 patients, and we built that in 1995. And it's what I call a common Salt Lick model. It's very centralized. So all the docs and all the nurses would sit in one area, and then the department surrounded us, but we were all right there in that one area. And it worked well until we reached a certain volume. And so that new department, when it was built in 1995, we thought would accommodate 36,000 patients max. We thought we'll never get there. By 2000, we were at 35,000 patients. And almost 5 years later, we had almost outgrown that space. So what we did over the next 10 years is we'd add a piece on here or a piece there, kind of on the fringes of that department. We'd kind of acquisition some land or some real estate in the hospital. And it made for a very inefficient layout. And the bigger we got, it really shone a spotlight on those inefficiencies. So we've known for years that we needed to build a brand new ED. And we built this one to accommodate 60,000 patients. And it's like Kevin Costner said in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they'll come. And we found that out in 1995, and we'll find it out with this department too. Our volume will continue to grow. We currently see about 45,000 patients a year. And once we open this new ED, our volume will take off. But
Now, all the beeping we hear is all the construction that's still going on, right?
yeah, I apologize for that. There's a lot going on here. We're a month away from opening, and there's a lot of fine details to be done yet.
But we were at 45,000 patients in a 30,000 patient facility.
It was very awkward, and all those rooms are quite small. The technology of medicine has advanced so much, and we have now computers in every room, and we bring in telemedicine units for certain kinds of patients. We just didn't have the square footage space in any of the rooms. Plus, emergency department stays tend to be longer now because more of the patient's workup, their exam and diagnostic tests are done in the emergency department, not once they're admitted. So many more patients are government insurers like Medicare and Medicaid and third-party insurers have really encouraged a transition from inpatient medicine to outpatient medicine. So we do more of the work in the emergency department. That translates into longer stays, more family members, and we want everybody to be comfortable, not cramped as it's been in the old emergency department.
And it's not just a curtain anymore, it's an actual room with doors.
Yeah, it looks a little more formal, huh? It's more like an inpatient room. We wanted it to be a really nice experience for the patient. Every room is doored off. Every room is going to have its own TV. It's just a much more comfortable experience. If you're going to be in an emergency department for 2, 3, 4 hours, you want it to be a comfortable experience. So in this new department, we have what are called pods. There's 4 pods. I was thinking about how to describe this. Let's take the state of Ohio. If all the physicians working in the state of Ohio for all the patients in Ohio were based in Columbus, that was the old emergency department. Now we're going to have a physician working in Toledo, physician working in Dayton, physician working in Cleveland, physician working in Athens. They're going to be responsible for their quadrant of the state. We think that'll be a much more efficient design.
And then as the patient comes in, what if they require a lot of different types of care? Will you be able to take care of that one patient, or do they have to move from pod to pod?
Oh no, you'll be self-contained in your own pod. Every pod will be interchangeable. So you come in, you'll get a bed assigned to you in pod A or pod B or pod C or D, and the physician there takes care of you. And it doesn't matter which pod you're in. Every pod is going to be able to take care of that patient.
Now, as a doctor, being able to take care of these patients in a bigger facility that, like you said, can accommodate families, is this going to be easier for you too?
It will be easier. I'm actually going to be walking quite a lot less than I did in the old emergency department because it had gotten so big and sprawling, and I would walk a long way between patient rooms. Here it's much more concentrated. If I'm in pod B, I've got 8 patients, 10 patients I'm going to have in pod B that I'll be taking care of. I'm not going to have to walk to the other side of the emergency department. It's so much bigger, but the area that I take care of is smaller. So I think we're all going to like that.
And the technology is outstanding.
Medicine has really changed a lot, really just in the last 5 years. In terms of it's the digital age and our telemedicine units. I've seen changes in medicine occur so much more rapidly in the last 5 years than I did in the 25 years I practiced prior to that.
And so you have wireless and computers, and you're all connected. You have things that tell you where each physician and nurse is in this facility so you can find them.
It's really cool. Yeah, we've got proximity trackers that they're going to be able to look on a computer screen and say where I am at anywhere in the department just by a name badge that I wear. So,
What did they do before? Just yell your name?
no, we had these soup cans on a string.
Oh, of course.
They would page you overhead, and they would find you sooner or later. But it was kind of a loud, obnoxious, inefficient system.
But this way, you can also find exactly what patients need and get updates on those patients as well, right?
Yes, yes. It's just going to be wonderful to be practicing modern medicine in a modern setting.
All right, and all the funding and all of that stuff that Carrie talked about earlier in the show, that's all taken care of, so you can just come in and do your job.
Well, that's how everybody wants it, right? You just want to come in and do your job.
All right, now, will we need more doctors since it's such a bigger place?
No, I think that we can staff with our current group of doctors the same way we have. It's just they're not going to be all together in one spot. They're going to each have a pod, but our staffing patterns won't change.
Even though it's much bigger.
It's much bigger, but we're breaking it down into these regions, and no, we won't have to change our staffing at all.
And as far as supplies go, you won't have to walk clear across as you mentioned earlier, far away to get from patient to patient. Supplies as well are close at hand.
True, true. Here's what I think I should do. I think I should get one of those Fitbits and wear it in the old department, and then wear a Fitbit in the new department. I think I'll walk a lot less steps here.
And like you said, more efficient treatment for patients.
Much more efficient treatment for patients. Same care, same good, high-quality care from our physicians and our nurses in a more efficient setting.
All right, can't wait for you guys to get open. I know that's coming up pretty soon.
March 17th, happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll be in here. We're very excited about it.
All right, very good. Our medical director, Dr. Jeff Cameron, here at Union Hospital. And for Medical Minutes, I'm Jennifer Clark.